What's going on, guys? This is Real Deal Fantasy HQ with your boy LQ back in for another great episode. In today's episode, we are talking about the top 10 wide receivers for the 2020 fantasy football season. So I got some great news this morning. I woke up to a beautiful email that I've been waiting for the past couple of weeks. I finally got it. The Scott Fish Bowl email that I've been waiting on forever. I've been trying to get into this league. It's a very good cause. Great way to just show love and have the fantasy community come together and just connect and network, and of course, it goes to a great cause for the toys for Christmas for people. And I'm going to be making a donation. Now I'm going to pitch to my league mates to see if we can have, the winnings that go for most points scored of the season, see if we could put that towards a charity, of my choice or whatever the case may be. So, excited about that. Can't wait. New opportunities. I had to drink that Red Bull. I'm kind of low on energy right now. Just did a bunch of bullshit in the backyard. But I usually don't. This is a different angle that I'm taking, with the intro. I'm taking kind of long to get to. I usually by now would say, I don't want to waste any more time, so let's get right into the episode. But right now, I'm going to go a more personable approach to some of these videos. Some people kind of just want to hear me talk without having something fantasy, related. But, I don't know. Maybe we'll start doing vlogs so you guys can get the inside scoop, the inside look. But I'm definitely going to put timestamps so you can skip most of the stuff that I'm talking about right now because it's not really anything related to, the episode of the top 10 wide receivers. But anyway, I'm going to say it now. I don't want to waste any more time, so let's get right into the episode. So, like I said, we are talking about the top 10 wide receivers for the 2020 fantasy football season. This is my second favorite episode. My first favorite, I said before, was the running backs. I love doing the top 10 running backs. It gets a little fishy between 6 and 10, but, the first 4 or 5 people we already know. Now, wide receivers also I like as well. It's a little fishy actually in the middle of it, like between 4 to 7, you know what I mean? That was where I had kind of trouble trying to figure out where to put these guys in position. But obviously, wide receiver number one on the board is Michael Thomas, 1,700 yards, people, with 149 receptions and 9 touchdowns. That is insane, people. This is like once in a, couple years that we get wide receivers that put up these numbers, And I feel like Michael Thomas going into this next season, even with the bullshit he had to deal with, Drew Brees and all that stuff, that will translate into next season. Say he doesn't put up 17 yards, he puts up 1,400 yards. That's still great numbers, you know what I mean? That is very rare that, we see out of, X amount of wide receivers that come through the drafts, that come through, through the years of just, 1,700 yards. Like, I can't get over that. That's insane. But 149 receptions, 9 touchdowns. There'll probably be, something similar, something mirrored to that going into this next season. So full send as Michael Thomas being the number 1 wide receiver off the board. Now, this is where it gets fishy. This is where the mainstream, they copy and paste. They do the rankings, blah, blah, blah. A lot of people are putting Chris Godwin at number 2, but I am putting Julio Jones. He is the best wide receiver in the game right now when it comes to real life, outside of fantasy, outside of, all the other analysts' rankings. Julio Jones is the best wide receiver in the game right now. He's getting put at number 2 only based on, we're talking PPR format, we're talking fantasy right now. But outside of fantasy, Julio Jones is the number 1 wide receiver. I don't care what you say. Now, Michael Thomas, he has the numbers, he has the receptions, but he does like 5-yard routes, slants, and, I'm not a big fan of that. I need the Julio Jones, route tree out of Michael Thomas, which we should be getting because it seems like he's getting more pissed off on Twitter with people just, making jokes about his route trees. But anyway, Julio Jones is at number 2, and things are going to be looking good. Things are on the upside with Matt Ryan. The Matt Ryan curse that is upon him since 2012. He is due for a top 10 performance, people. He's been hot, cold, hot, cold, hot, cold. We're now in the pattern. The next cursed up, I should say, is for him to have a top 10 performance. He's going to do well this season. So that's definitely a good thing for Julio Jones to be the number 2 wide receiver off the board. And I do expect to see some more touchdowns out of Julio Jones. I do need him to get in the end zone a tad bit more. I mean, Calvin Ridley's doing his damn thing, finding the end zone, but I need Julio Jones up there to the 10, to the 11, to 12 touchdowns. That will be the topper for Julio Jones. That will make him wide receiver one, out of all the rankings for, next season or whatever the case may be. But Julio Jones at number 2 is solid for me. Number 3, Chris Godwin, obviously. Chris Godwin is going to be a PPR monster. He definitely benefits with Tom Brady there. I definitely feel like the connection will be instant. It will be a beautiful thing. I definitely want all parts, all shares, all smoke with Chris Godwin and Tom Brady, being that Chris Godwin spent 50% of his snap opportunity in the slot. I think he lives and breathes there. He had a 98% snap opportunity as well overall, so he is going to be on the field. When Bruce Arians said that Chris Godwin will not come off the field, he meant that shit. He definitely meant that shit. So that's definitely something I definitely want parts of. I definitely like, Brady being that he is an upgrade. I wouldn't say in fantasy world he's an upgrade from Winston, but he's an upgrade in real life. They're going to start winning some games. So that'll make the offensive skilled players very happy. That translates to winning touchdowns and us winning on the fantasy side of things with, happy wide receivers, happy running backs, happy coaches, etc. When you're winning, everything is good for you. Your team is like 10-6 or whatever. That's still a pretty good record. You're going to be killing it in fantasy. So that's just a given. But I definitely want Chris Godwin to live and breathe in the slot. I don't want him moving anywhere else. I want him to get up there in that slot opportunity, that snap opportunity in the slot, up there with Cooper Kupp, which is at like 69%. But anyway, Chris Godwin at 3. I like it for PPR formats, of course, that we're talking about. I got to keep doing that disclaimer. I don't do standard. I don't do none of that bullshit. That is caveman. I don't know why people still play standard. It's like crazy to me. PPR should just be the standard. You know what I mean? But anyway, Chris Godwin at 3. I don't think there's really any debate there for him to come after Michael Thomas and Julio Jones. So we're just going to move on. Now, here it is. Number 4. Now, this is the lowest I had Davante Adams. My rankings, I would say in April, were Michael Thomas, Julio Jones, and then Davante Adams. Now, with him at 4, I'm saying low, but it's not low. It's just I had him at number 3 or number 2 in some cases. But this is probably the lowest I had him, and it's only because I feel like the offense didn't get better from the draft. Aaron Rodgers is obviously frustrated, but they didn't really get any help on the outside. They didn't really get any help, through the draft or offseason. Yes, Allen Lazard's there as the wide receiver too, but it's not promising. I mean, it is promising, but it's not guaranteed that, he shows up and shows out, that actually gets some pressure off of Davante Adams. And also lingering in the back of my mind is the locker room drama. There's something going on there. They're literally pissing off Aaron Rodgers. I don't know why, but the Jordan Love pick, and then not any skilled players, and they're passing on top prospects. The only addition that I did agree with was AJ Dillon, obviously, but I feel like they didn't get any better. They didn't get next step better. Like, excuse me. Oh, we got these, these offseason moves. We got these drafts. We got these rookie coming in, but they really didn't do anything really different. You know what I mean? So I feel like that hurts Adams. And with me putting him this low also, he gets beat up quite a bit. The turf toe last season kind of, lingered on, and he played through it, et cetera, but he didn't really, recover from that. So health is a question here, but he's still a top 5, wide receiver finishing. I think that we can get that out of him. But as long as he can stay healthy, I really don't like my wide receivers playing through injury. I do want them to be tough and, tough it out. But something like turf toe does take time to actually heal. I actually suffered from it before, and I know that shit sucks. It hurts like a bitch. So for him, I kind of need him to stay healthy for me to even say like he's a top 5 wide receiver finishing of the 2020 season. But he definitely, with the injury, put him back at wide receiver 23. And again, this is the lowest I had him, but I expect him to still be a stud. I expect Aaron Rodgers to look for him to be the security blanket, him making tons of touchdowns, and just call it a day. You know what I mean? But hopefully that offense is still flowing. Hopefully that offense is still moving. Maybe another 13-3 finish. I don't know. Maybe the Packers know something that we don't, that, maybe the guys that they got are going to be able to perform. But hopefully, Allen Lazard, he shows up and shows out. He's definitely one of the guys that are on my list of sleepers. But again, it's promising, but it's not guaranteed that, he'll do that. So let's move on. Number 5. Now, number 5, I kind of see him everywhere on like even mainstream, rankings and my rankings. Number 5, Tyreek Hill. I think that is fair. That's fair to put him right there in the middle. I mean, he's a speedster. I mean, we see his crazy workout routines this offseason. Looks like he's been working out crazier than he's ever been. I mean, he makes the jokes of, 1% body fat, which we know it's not true, but I could believe it the way this dude's training. He's training like a freaking superhero. He's training for the Olympics, or he's training for Hunger Games or something like that. But the dude is a beast overall. He's a quick wide receiver that can make the big plays down the field. He has arguably the best quarterback in the fucking league right now. So it's kind of like a no-brainer that Tyreek Hill is going to be producing and putting up big numbers. Now, last season, you're probably questioning what happened. He got hurt, but I feel like this year he's going in with a clear mind, no off season, no off field issues. Last year he had the child abuse case, it was lingering. They were questioning about paying him, cutting him, etc., being charged, being suspended, a lot of shit going on leading up to that week 1 game. And then week 1 happens and he gets injured. So that's kind of like karma just saying, boom, you didn't get suspended, you didn't get charged or anything like that. You didn't get cut, you got paid. So here's this injury you're going to be sitting out 5 weeks with. So that definitely was unfortunate, but he's still a wide receiver, 1 when it comes to that offense. And I definitely think him and Travis Kelce have a beautiful connection. Him and Patty Mahomes have a beautiful connection. That offense is just going to be firing on all cylinders. So if Tyreek Hill can avoid injury, if he can avoid any off-field issues, then I don't see why, he can't sit at the number 5 spot, as in my top 10 wide receivers, because there's really no bad doubts about him. I mean, he's definitely the most standout, speedster wide receiver there's out there, because I know it could either go both ways. You could end up being like Tavon Austin, or you can end up being the Tyreek Hill, like how Tyreek Hill is Tyreek Hill. You know what I mean? Now, I wouldn't actually say the other route would be Deshaun Jackson, but Deshaun Jackson can't stay healthy. He's kind of old now, so I'll probably say young D Jackson maybe, but he never was like truly appealing to me. Like I never looked at him as like the wide receiver 1, like a must-own wide receiver. You know what I mean? But that's just me. Maybe I'm talking out of my ass because I hate Philly fans and I hate the Eagles. So maybe there's that. But I definitely appreciated him when he played for Tampa. I drafted him a couple times in the later rounds. You know what I mean? He was serviceable, week to week. He wasn't like an every week guy, but I do remember the times with him and Mike Evans, that was a cool duo, I would say. They were kind of hot and cold, or fire and ice, or whatever you want to call it. But anyway, moving on. Let's get to number 6. Now, number 6, I have D-Hop. Now, D-Hop is only at number 6. It's not based on his talent. It's literally based on him going to a new situation, new location, new team, and all that other stuff. We've seen this story before. A perfect example is Odell Beckham, going to a new situation, a new team, a new quarterback, etc. Now, the stud wide receivers, when they make that move, they do need time to adjust. So with all this COVID shit going on right now, not much of the chemistry being built, I don't know personally if he's actually meeting up with Kyler, throwing the ball around, catching the ball, et cetera, and whatever. But I do think that COVID is playing a very large role into this, of the disconnect, not getting immediately that chemistry. I know like OTAs will be going on by now. I know training camp is around the corner and all this other stuff, but everything is on hold right now dealing with this COVID shit. But I will say it won't be exactly like the Odell Beckham story about, him finishing wide receiver 26 because he's injured and all this other stuff, the Browns suck, et cetera. I can go on and on and on about that. But I think it would be very different because D-Hop is going into a situation where he has a similar play with QB wise, Kyler and Deshaun Watson. They both make very good plays outside the pocket, and that's where D-Hop is the most dangerous. Now, 30% of Kyler Murray's passes were completed, and they weren't really like dropped or anything like that. He wasn't actually pressured most of those times either. He just was out of the pocket, play action play, and making the passes, making the completions. And I do like that, it's a similar play where D-Hop can be a clear plug and play there. But again, we've seen these stud guys make the move and then they kind of struggle. And again, I said COVID. But I feel like D-Hop, he'll be a clear plug and play because he is better than Odell Beckham. I can say that, and I stand by that. He's better than Odell Beckham. He has a better attitude, a better mindset. He has a better head coach right now. He has a better quarterback. He has a whole better system overall in Arizona. So I think he'll adjust and he'll fit right in, and he'll have like a top 10, maybe even a top 5. Maybe me putting him at 6 is way too low. Maybe he's a top 3, wide receiver going into this next season, but time will tell. I'm not going to just jump the gun and say that he's a top 3 wide receiver or even a top 5 without seeing him play in this new system. So I think 6 is a safe spot to put D-Hop. Now, y'all want to stop disrespecting my boy, Mike Evans, at number 7. Give me him all day. Now, I feel like you're saying Chris Godwin's going to kill his value completely. No, it is not. It's not. Hear me out. Now, you got Tom Brady coming in with some nice toys, some brand new weapons, some elite weapons, I should say. And Mike Evans is going to be a stud regardless, people. Now, Tom Brady is obviously, in reality, the upgrade of Winston. If Winston was able to get 2 wide receivers at 1,000 yards and a buttload of touchdowns, what do you think Tom Brady is going to do with Mike Evans and Chris Godwin? I know you're throwing Gronk in that mix, but again, I'm not worried about Gronk. There's no way Tom Brady is going to choose Gronk over a Chris Godwin and a Mike Evans. Mike Evans is going to produce. He's going to give you a top 10 finish automatically, regardless of his situation, because he is that good at wide receiver. Now, he does need to stay healthy. That's what held him back last season, catching a late injury bug, and if he kept going on beyond week 12 or week 13 or whatever he got hurt, he would have finished inside the top 10. He would have finished maybe like top 7. And that's exactly where I got him right now, at the 7th spot. So mark my words, Mike Evans is not going to completely fall out of the top 10. He's not going to fall off the face of the earth just because Brady is going to love him some Chris Godwin. Chris Godwin's not going to be open all the time. And then when Brady wants to go downfield, who do you think he's going to hit? Mike Evans. You know what I mean? Now, Tom Brady, I would say it's not that he's known to air the ball out, but he will air the ball out. Last season, he had 60, attempts beyond 20 yards, and that is basically four times a game. I can get that out of Tom Brady and Mike Evans. That's fine. If all 4 of those passes go to Mike Evans, he catches at least 2 or 3 of them, full send. You know what I mean? That's where I need Mike Evans to live in. I hope to pray to God that Mike Evans' touchdowns don't go down because of Gronk. That is a possibility, with Chris Godwin and Mike Evans. Touchdowns just taking a slight little chunk down because of Gronk being the red zone target. That's my little issue there. But Mike Evans is going to finish top 10. Mark my words. I'm not worried at all. I feel like Mike Evans has proven himself these past 6 years that he's an elite wide receiver and he can be trusted. Now at number 8, the underdog Allen Robinson. Oddly enough, when I was doing this rankings, usually when I do the rankings, I don't look at mainstream or rankings or anything like that. I don't go to the sleeper app or anything like that to see where these guys finish. He finished wide receiver 8 in some leagues in PPR, half point or full point PPR. He finished top 10, which is amazing to me that Allen Robinson did that with the terrible QB play that he had in Mitch Trubisky. He is the underdog on this list, people. And finishing number 8, I want him to have this connection with Nick Foles to where it just pushes him up to a top 5 wide receiver. If I can get that out of Allen Robinson, then I'm a happy camper. I know I'm asking for a little too much right now, but Nick Foles and Allen Robinson, that connection needs to happen. It needs to be something that needs to be instant because we know Nick Foles is going to take that starting job, first of all. So that's not even up for question. Trubisky's going to be riding that bench off into sunset, into freaking free agency, have a Josh Rosen fucking story or whatever the case may be. But here's the thing. Allen has the potential to be a top 5 wide receiver. He had 154 targets, caught 98 of them. This isn't the first time he had 150 targets in his career. This is the 3rd time that he had that. So he's able to carry that workload. So the 98 receptions was a career high, yes, but I do think that could translate into more targets, to more catches with Nick Foles if they can get that offense rocking and rolling. Now, Allen Robinson has been showing some type of leadership in the Zoom meeting, so that lets me know everything. He's happy where he's at. He's happy that Nick Foles is coming in and he's going to produce and he's going to want to be paid like a top dog once, this season ends and proven himself to be one of those top wide receivers that they have on their team. So I'm not really worried about Tyreek Hill or anything like that. I'm not worried about, Riley Ridley. I'm not worried about Anthony Miller at all. Allen Robinson is going to be the guy, the only guy. You know what I mean? Maybe Anthony Miller or freaking Riley Ridley, they have, decent years, but they're not going to interrupt anything of 100 targets or 150 targets to Allen Robinson. So it's a full send on Allen Robinson come draft day, no doubt. Number 8. Now let's move on to number 9. Kenny Golladay, I had him at 8. I had Allen Robinson at 9, but I flipped him because I feel like I feel like Allen Robinson just fits perfectly there at number 8, being that, he doesn't really have that competition next to him. Now, Kenny Golladay does. He has Marvin Jones, the sleeper, the stud. You're getting him very late in the rounds. Matthew Stafford needs to stay healthy as well. His ranking right now at the 9th spot for Kenny Golladay depends on it. Now, he suffered mediocre trash QB play last season, but he still managed to be a top 10 wide receiver. Now, I will say touchdowns might have helped with that, with him having 11 touchdowns, made him very fantasy relevant, and it was kind of hard for him week to week to stay consistent. There were some weeks where he'll put up like wide receiver 1 numbers and then wide receiver 2, and then he put up 3 points. You know what I mean? But I don't blame him solely for that. It's definitely the Lions are just a bad team overall first and foremost. And I feel like with Matthew Stafford out, that's what contributed to that inconsistent play, because trying to build chemistry with a backup quarterback and trying to find some type of happiness and trying to find something to play for, you know what I mean? That actually goes through some of these guys' mind, you know what I mean? So that definitely played a part. So that's why I got him at number 9, because I'm hoping and praying Matthew Stafford can have a comeback season. He's due for a top 10 performance as well. We know Matthew Stafford can ball out. He's tough. So with him dealing with injury, it just kind of set everybody and everything back. So hopefully he comes back and then Golladay can ball out. And hopefully those touchdowns can stay consistent. 10 to 11 to 12 touchdowns out of Golladay. I'll be very happy with that. Now we're moving on to number 10. Now, I made some edits. I made some changes. I had a couple guys here, a couple guys there, honorable mentions, but I came down to it where Cooper Kupp will be my number 10 wide receiver on this list, only being that he is Jared Goff's favorite wide receiver, people, and he's another that benefit from the touchdowns last season that had him finish top 10. You know what I mean? So I feel like Jared Goff is going to look nowhere else when it comes to that red zone, when it comes to his reliable, wide receiver, his favorite wide receiver, and he is a PPR monster in that slot. 65% snap opportunity in the slot alone, people. So he's cutting up the mismatch that's constantly on him. He's getting the under routes. He's even going out deep. I'm not saying he's a deep threat, but he can make the plays down deep, people. He has that, take it to the house opportunity and ability in him at any point in time on the field. So that's definitely something I want all smoke and all parts with. Now, Cooper Kupp, obviously, is part of my team. It's my dude. And I'm trying not to be biased, but I definitely feel like people are throwing this narrative with Tyler Higbee. Cooper Kupp became non-existent at the end of the season. How? He scored a touchdown in every single game, those last 4 to 5 games of the season. So I'm not understanding how he became just like off the face of the earth. He was still putting on wide receiver 2 numbers. And that's exactly where you drafted him at. That's exactly what you drafted him for, as a wide receiver 2. You never drafted him as a wide receiver 1. So why are you complaining? So it doesn't make sense of this Cooper Kupp hate that is going on. Brandon Cooks is gone. Todd Gurley is gone. So they bring in a guy named Van Jefferson, who's another guy I want to stay very quiet about. He's definitely a guy that is very similar to Cooper Kupp. Great hands, crisp routes, and he understands the game. That's what Sean McVay looks for in wide receivers and players in general. Do they understand the game? Now, Van Jefferson is known as a guy that understands like what the QB is thinking, where his eyes are, how he's going to end up making himself available to that quarterback so he can make that throw. This is IQ test that Sean McVay likes to give, the prospects, the rookies that are coming in. So I'm definitely all hands on for Van Jefferson. But we're talking about Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp is going to kill it this year, people. And Robert Woods is another guy. He's another guy that I had at this 10 spot. It literally was like musical chairs between these, like the number 10 spot. But Cooper Kupp settled in, being that he is the favorite wide receiver for the Rams. Wide receiver 1, he's going to get the touchdowns. Touchdowns translates to nice fantasy points that translates to you guys bringing home the gold. So I definitely had to put Cooper Kupp here, being that he finished second when it came to total touchdowns with 10. So with that being said, I feel like there's no other way that Cooper Kupp finished outside of top 10, being that this Rams offense may have lost Brandon Cooks, may have lost Gurley, but they bring in some nice additions. They bring us some young talent, some fresh legs, and it's going to be explosive again. And you guys just watch. I'm not just talking because I'm a Rams fan. I'm being serious. It's going to be very explosive. Watch out for Cam Akers. Woof, I can't wait for that. I cannot wait for that. I'm going to say the first 4 to 5 weeks, we're going to see Cam Akers putting up top 10 running back numbers. And then, he might finish at 10, he might finish at 11, but it doesn't matter. He's a rookie. I'm ranting right now. You got me on this freaking Rams rant right now. Let me stop. But anyway, that was my top 10 wide receivers for the 2020 fantasy football season. Hope you guys enjoyed the episode. Hope you guys liked my list. I tried to not be biased. I tried to be just straightforward. I tried to stay away from, the mainstream media. I tried to stay away from, everybody else's rankings and all the other stuff. But I definitely feel like this list is pretty solid. You know what I mean? I feel like I went into it, with knowledge. I tried to do my homework on all these things, and I definitely feel like this is a reasonable top 10 list. You know what I mean? Cooper Kupp, for some people that know me, will say is way too low. You know what I mean? They would think I would have him as a top 5, but I'm trying not to be biased. I'm trying to be, big facts only. So Cooper Kupp at the number 10 spot is reasonable, people. But let me know who you guys should have got that 10th spot. I pretty much think that the rest of the list is normal. I mean, there's a couple guys you could put at the top 10 spot. So let me know who you guys think I should have put at the top 10 spot. Leave a comment below. Make sure you guys like, subscribe, and share. Show the love for your boy. And I'll see you guys next week for another great episode of Real Deal Fantasy HQ with your boy LQ. Peace.